Hey, what's going on, Summoners? My name is Crumbs, and today we're gonna be taking a look at 5 of Riot's best reworks. Over the course of its lifetime, League of Legends has gotten a ton of changes. Some of these include complete overhauls of older champs, while others are simple visual updates. Regardless, if you're a League veteran, some of these reworks should give you nostalgia. Each of these 5 reworks accomplished their primary goals. They made sure to carry the identity of the champion forward, update the look and feel of their abilities, and keep a strong theme for their personality. Let's dive right into the video and take a look at our first champion, shall we? Starting us off strong, we've got Katlyn, the Sheriff of Piltover. Back in the early seasons of League, Kate was an extremely popular champion. She offered her team high long-range DPS with a strong laning phase. Katlyn's primary identity was a rifle-wielding sheriff that served as a great lane bully with decent zone control. However, there wasn't much that made Katlyn truly unique. At the end of the day, Kate was just like any other basic attack-based AD carry. She dealt damage from afar and had a single damaging ability. There just wasn't anything that made her stand out from someone like Jinx, who could essentially accomplish the same things. So to finally give her a unique theme and playstyle, Riot reworked her abilities. With this rework, they were looking to stay true to her current identity while also amplifying it to be its own unique playstyle. Her Q and ult remained unchanged, but get a nice visual update in the process. Katlyn's passive remained as simple as an empowered basic attack, but it could now be used on towers. This slight change made her an amazing sieging champion paired with her Q's wave clear. Taking a look at her W and E, we have some of the biggest changes to her kit. While their overall purpose remained the same, these abilities had headshot synergy added to them. Now, rather than simply slowing an enemy with a net or trapping them with her W, she can further punish them with an empowered headshot along the way. Riot's rework for Katlyn was a really solid move towards creating a strong identity for her. It not only kept her old thematic intact, but it also modernized her kit to better fit with other champs. While they could have done a lot more for her kit, we think this was a perfect balance between strong changes and a bit of fan service. Sometimes Riot ends up reworking our favorite champions and it can be hard to pick them back up. If you need some help mastering your main champ, then be sure to check us out at ProGuides.com. We've got a lot of amazing classes for you to take your gameplay to the next level. If courses and lessons aren't your thing though, don't worry. We have challenger level coaches that are available 24/7 to help you out. If you're gonna get coaching, why not get it from someone who is the best at your favorite champion? So what are you waiting for? Go check us out and join the ProGuides family. Nonetheless, let's get back into the video and cover our next great rework. Moving on to our next champion, we've got Sion. Sion was always seen as a bit of a meme champion in earlier seasons. His ability to go to AD, AP, tank, or even support made his entire kit a joke. While some people have fond memories of one-tapping the enemy with his AP cryptic gaze, others are glad the champ found a good home with this rework. Sion never really had an identity before his rework, but his abilities were fairly set in stone on what they were meant to do. Pre-rework Sion was made to offer CC, shielding, and basic attack damage as a melee carry. While it's not necessarily unique, it was the closest thing we had to someone like old Aatrox. Diving into a few of his key changes, Sion actually had his entire kit reworked. His old passive granted him a % chance to dodge damage based on level. This was fairly RNG, but with the old dodge mechanic, it let Sion avoid damage from anything in the game. This got completely removed and was switched with his new passive, which turns him into a zombie after death. As for his Q, Sion completely lost his point and click stun ability. With it, the death of AP Sion soon came after. Jokes aside, Sion's new Q tried to fuse a bit of his old cryptic gaze and his new heavy axe playstyle. The new decimating smash allowed Sion to have a massive AoE knockup that also dealt quite a bit of damage. Fortunately, this removed his basic attack playstyle, but at least it gave him a new identity as a massive axe-wielding zombie. Moving on to his old W, it was just a simple shield and not much has changed from that. His old shield had massive AP scaling and could be detonated after 4 seconds to deal damage around him. Sion's new shield functions in a similar manner, but instead offers more of a shielding effect with a less damaging AP scaling. On the bright side, it also offers a passive that grants him bonus HP when an enemy dies near him, similar to his oldie. Speaking of which, we have the changes to Sion's E and R, which are really what shifted how he would be played. Sion's E and ultimate granted bonus attack damage, healing, and attack speed. This is what made Sion an auto-attacking menace since he was able to dish out tons of damage while also staying healthy. With his rework, Sion lost his right-click playstyle but was instead born anew with an engaged tank kit. His new E offers a long-range harass tool with armor shred and slows. Sion's new ult allows him to charge at an enemy from afar and deal a significant amount of damage based off distance traveled. These two new abilities have allowed Sion to create his own identity as an ability-based hyper tank. While not everyone was excited for Sion to be reworked, it definitely serves as a great example for what Riot is capable of. I mean, look at him. He went from a random zombie champion that could itemize anything to a strong hyper tank with a versatile build path. Moving on to our next champion, we have Urgot. This beautiful monstrosity of a champion has undergone a ton of changes in his lifetime. His rework could easily be marked as one of the most visually appealing and thematically satisfying. Old Urgot was seen as one of the first ranged tanks in the game. He was an extremely early iteration of what juggernauts currently look to accomplish. Urgot was picked to be a powerful lane bully with decent DPS and extremely tanky stats. His old kit helped him accomplish this by providing shielding, long-range damage, and resistance-empowering abilities. A lot of Urgot's old abilities serve as inspiration for his new kit, and they're honestly implemented extremely well. To better break this down, let's compare his old damage combo to his new one. Old Urgot used to land his E to mark you in order to reduce your armor and allow his Q to become a homing missile. During this, he would shield himself so that his attacks slow you, which would allow him to get close enough for his ult. Urgot's old ultimate used to swap his position with an enemy, and afterwards he would take up to 50% reduced damage. Pair this with his old passive, which would reduce damage from a marked enemy by 15%, and you've got an extremely powerful exhaust in your kit. Taking a look at new Urgot's entire combo, he tends to start with his Q. This Q deals physical damage and slows enemies hit for 1.25 seconds. With this slow, he's able to get in range with his E, which allows him to shield himself and charge at an enemy. Once he connects with them, Urgot flips them over himself and stuns them for 1.5 seconds. Afterwards, he ults them to mark them for death. While the enemy is stunned, Urgot activates his W, which, paired with his passive, offers a deadly burst of damage. He is able to walk around the enemy shooting them with his chain gun alongside his knee cannons. Once the enemy falls below 25% HP, Urgot's ult pulls them in and executes them upon arrival. Urgot's old kit is reimagined within his new one, while also giving it a nice modern flair. While he may no longer mark enemies from afar to deal massive DPS, he can instead use his new Q, W, and passive to deal high burst damage within an instant. While his shield and ultimate swap may be gone, they were instead replaced by his new ability to charge enemies and stun them while shielding himself. Finally, Urgot got a nice upgrade with the addition of his new ultimate. It helped establish Urgot's theme as a horrifying monster that dealt high damage, offered great tank stats, and overall played around isolating and killing a single enemy. Now, before we move on to our next amazing rework, let's cover our question of the day. Today, we want to ask you all, what champion rework were you most excited about? Personally, I think Katarina's rework was something really cool that is rarely talked about. Sure, she doesn't offer a spammy of a playstyle, but her new kit offers some great skill expression and beauty as she wipes entire teams. Regardless of what your answer may be, let us know in the comments section below. Nonetheless, let's get back into the video and dive into our final rework champions. Pulling us back into the video, we've got a rework that is still relatively new compared to others on the list. Fiddlesticks' rework is one that was super exciting for everyone in the League community. While his abilities weren't significantly changed, Riot doubled down on his theme and creep factor. They wanted to turn Fiddle into this terrifying scarecrow that haunted the forests of Demacia. He was meant to bring an aspect of horror to League that has never been seen before. Sure, some of you may not like Fiddle, but you can't argue that Riot didn't flawlessly accomplish their goal with this rework. Not only did Fiddles get an entirely new design that featured a horrifying base model, but he also got a scary teaser video alongside a terrifying soundtrack that could haunt your dreams. With this in mind, Riot knew that they wanted his kit to stay relatively the same, but they just wanted to make it all the more nightmarish and scary to play against. Old Fiddlesticks was just a funny take on the haunted scarecrow trope that was often found in movies. He looked to clear his jungle and use a murder of crows to wipe out teams with his ultimate. during which he could fear enemies with a point-and-click ability while sucking their life essence in order to heal himself. But the new Fiddlesticks took these abilities to a whole new level. His passive stayed the same by giving him a bonus for sitting still. However, new Fiddle had the added bonus of being able to place effigies around the map. These creepy clones served as wards and mini heart attacks for those unfortunate enough to find them. As for his Q, W, and R, they stayed the same but had their visuals updated to provide more of a nightmare factor. Each of them now had scary sound effects and projectiles associated with them in order to invoke terror on the Rift. Even his ultimate became far more of a jump scare as it now provided a shriek as it began annihilating your team. The biggest change to his abilities was really in his E, which simply turned his bouncing crow projectile into a sharp swipe of his scythe. Overall, Fiddle was a rework that showed just how far you can go when you truly embrace the theme of a champion. Last but certainly not least, we've got Kale. Kale is one of the original few champions in League of Legends. She underwent a ton of different changes, but we're going to be covering her biggest rework where she got both a visual and gameplay update. In the past, Kale was seen as a powerful scaling champion that played to deal damage based off on-hit items. Her kit helped her do this by giving her armor shred, healing, kiting tools, range buff, damage buffs, and even an ultimate that made her invulnerable to damage. The issue is that she still felt relatively stale with that playstyle. Many tried to revamp her by building her as an AD carry or playing her as a burst mage, but none of them really felt right. There was even a time where she was a strong support thanks to her utility and healing. With her rework, Riot wanted to fully embrace the idea of a scaling champion. They took her kit and made it into one that would flourish as the game went on until she eventually could become a 1v9 machine. To capture this, Riot took parts of her kit and fused them together while also giving her a few new tools. Her passive no longer reduced enemy champs' armor and MR, but it now granted her bonus speed alongside a new ascension mechanic. At levels 1, 6, 11, and 16, Kale is granted bonus abilities. Level 1 simply gives her bonus attack speed and movement speed the longer she attacks. At level 6, Kale becomes a ranged champion. Level 11 is where she becomes empowered at max attack speed stacks and launches waves of fire towards her enemies. Finally, at level 16, Kale gains additional attack range and permanently has max stacks of attack speed, movement speed, and launches waves of fire. This passive alone reimagined Kale as a scaling champion that could 1v9 games given enough time. Her Q went from having a slow with a bit of damage to now being a projectile that would slow and shred both armor and MR. Kale's W and R remained relatively unchanged and still did the same things. However, her ultimate now dealt magic damage to those around it after its duration was completed. Finally, we have Kale's E, which had a pretty big change. Rather than granting attack range, it now gave Kale passive on-hit damage. This allowed Kale to deal significant amounts of damage later on, while also letting her basic attacks apply on-hit effects and critically strike. Plus, the active now serves as an execute. Overall, Kale's rework stayed true to her identity of a hyper-scaling basic attack-based champion. Riot did a great job of pushing this theme further by creating a whole new ascension mechanic just for her. And that sums up our video for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to join our ProGuides family at ProGuides.com. We offer exclusive giveaways and classes that you won't catch anywhere else. So stay tuned and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video. Good luck in your games and may the LP gods smile down upon you.